The CEN Grand GLD 1.0 Deluxe is a network player based on a NUC and a Windows 10 Special Edition. Its quality lies in adaptations and additions, and on the Fibre POW interface that it shares with the CEN.Grand DSDAC 1.0 Deluxe I reviewed a week ago. Want to know where the GLD fits into your stereo? Click the link in the top right corner at the end of this video or on the link where to use in the description. The GLD has a sturdy metal housing and is available in either silver or black metal. It measures 430 by 143 by 42 mm and weighs 15.3 kilos. On the front left we find the standby button. It should be used with some care. Repeatedly pressing this button might disrupt the boot sequence. If that happens, turn off the power switch on the rear for 10 seconds and then turn it back on. The boot sequence then returns to normal. The power indicator LED flashes slowly in standby mode, flashes quickly during power on and off transitions and remains lit continuously during normal operation. When it flashes quickly, don't press the standby button again. Wait for it to finish the boot sequence. Status indicator 1 gives the network status. The display shows the Windows screen and thus depends on what software is installed. Status indicator 2 shows the mute status. The play button starts and stops playback when Audiovana Studio is used. On the back we see the IAC mains inlet with the fuse holder below it. The power switch is on the left of it. Then the computer related I/O. The 1 gigabit Ethernet port, the selector for the internal or external display, with next to it the HDMI connector to connect the external display to. Then the reset button for the unlikely event that the computer hangs. Finally 5 USB ports, 1 USB 3 port and 4 USB 2 ports. Next the digital audio outputs. SPDIF on BSC connector, the same signal but now on Toslink optical, and again the same signal but now on RCA connector. The AES EBU port again gives the same signal but this time at a higher voltage, balanced and 110 ohm impedance instead of the unbalanced 75 ohms or optical. All 4 outputs are so-called AES3 interfaces that are limited to 192 kHz 24-bit PCM and DSD64 by standard. Finally an I2S output on HDMI and CEN.Grand's own POW interface. POW stands for parting of the way, separating pathways for clock signal over a 50 ohm BNC cable and a glass fiber cable with FC type connectors for the audio data. The speed of the POW and I2S outputs are not specified. CEN.Grand states at their site that the POW design of the GLD 1.0 can transmit 8 channels of high bitrate data and could potentially be used in multi-channel DSD playback devices in the future. CEN.Grand publishes a nice block diagram, so let's follow that. It starts with the I/O, the USB ports for an external drive, and for installation a mouse and keyboard. Then we see the computer with these specs: 11th generation Intel Core i7 at 2.8 GHz with 16 GB RAM. The system drive is a 477 GB SSD by Kingston. It runs Windows 10 IoT Enterprise. This is a special version targeted at industrial applications like ATMs, where stability is of paramount importance. It's also a long-term serving channel product, meaning it offers extended support with security and quality updates, which is ideal for devices that need stability and won't change often. Okay, back to the diagram. The audio data from the streaming applications are sent to the computer's PCIe interface that is connected to the special high-end audio card. There it enters FPGA 1, which does the data and clock management. It then is sent to a series of isolators to block any nasties passing through the ground plane. In other words, galvanic separation. On the PCD, these are located here. The copper of the ground track on the PCB is separated along this line. Then the audio data is passed on to the second FPGA, which does data and clock processing. The clocking is done by the femtosecond oscillator. The FPGA then outputs the signal to a Burr-Brown digital audio transmitter that feeds the AES-3 outputs and the POW and I2S interfaces. Let's see how it looks inside. First we find two rather large transformers. I presume one is for the dirty side and one for the clean side after the isolators. Next to them we find the computer. It is separated by this thick metal plate that shields the audio board from stray signals coming from the computer. The only thing passed through it is the ribbon cable carrying the PCIe signals and the power cable to the audio power board. There is some electronics for the functions on the front. We find the first Altera Cyclone 4 FPGA, then the group of isolators and the second Altera Cyclone 4 FPGA. Finally, the transmitter and drivers for the digital outputs, and the transformers for the AES-3 outputs to make them galvanically isolated. The Dutch distributor YN Audio lent me the demo model, which was already configured, so I can't tell you how to set it up from scratch. To configure the GLD there are two ways: connect a monitor, keyboard and mouse, or use remote access. It also needs to be connected to the internet. CEN.Grand advises AnyDesk, which is free to use for one owner and supports Windows, macOS, Android, iOS, Apple TV, Linux, FreeDSB, Raspberry Pi and Chrome OS. After installation you simply register and you're set. After the connection is made, you see the desktop of the GLD on your computer, and the keyboard and the mouse of your computer can now control the GLD. The next step is to install the player software. Audivana is already on the GLD, but you need to buy a subscription. On the review sample, Roon was installed and licensed. Once that is done, you control Audivana or Roon from the remote control app of the respective player on your smartphone or tablet. So on one side you have to know your way around Windows 10, and then on the other side you have to know how to operate your player software, be it Audivana, Roon or any other program. In the review of the DSDAC I already described the sound quality of the DSDAC combined with the McNamara Ultra MK3.5 Farad streamer running Gentoo player. The overall sound character is closer to that of a PCM DAC than the R2R DAC, which isn't strange since most PCM DACs used oversampling low bit converters with 1.5 to 4.5 bit conversion. DSD uses 1 bit conversion. The sound character is upfront with good resolution. The stereo image extends beyond the speaker base and is fairly deep. Sibilance is well controlled. There is some slight time smearing compared to my Grim Mute 2, which is more defined. Given the price difference, that's what you would expect. Also keep in mind that although it's among the best in its class, the McNamara streamer is in a lower price category than the GLD. Time to listen to the GLD driving the DSDAC. The difference between using the Farad streamer running Gentoo player and the GLD should be mandatory listening for those who believe there can't be a difference since it's all the same bits. Not that the farad sound terrible, but it lacks the refinement of the GLD, and rightly so, given the price difference. So how does the DSDAC GLD combination sound? Using AES EBU it sounds fluent, analog if you like, very good 3D representation, deep and wide stereo imaging with stable focusing of instruments against a black background, fresh bright highs without the slightest sharpness and close to perfect sibilance. Using the POW interface it sounds very fluent, with improved deep lows and clear texture. The listening position is now less critical. You hear a natural projection of the stereo image if you're away from the sweet spot. That is what you get with very good equipment. Acoustics has less influence on the stereo image. Overall it has about 80% of the sound quality of the Grimm Audio Mu 2. So sound-wise I rate the DSDAC 1.0 Deluxe with GLD 1.0 Deluxe combination in the upper quarter of my set of 1A. Both the DSDAC and the GLD are fine products, but combined over POW interface they are more than fine. And although it's a lot of money, together they offer a very good price performance. The DSDAC 1.0 Deluxe sells at €6,290, the GLD 1.0 Deluxe at €7,390. That adds up to €13,680 including 21% VAT. That's €11,306 excluding sales tax for those outside the European Union. The POW interface brings a level of refinement that's hard to beat. The DSDAC offers very good upsampling to DSD and the GLD offers a very clean digital signal. That's why the synergy works so well here. That it is Windows based has advantages and disadvantages. If you are handy with computers/Windows, it gives you the option to customize at the risk of doing things wrong. And it would be unfair to expect service from your dealer when you have screwed up. The manufacturer installs Orevana, you only need to register and pay for the license. The review sample had Rune installed and that worked flawlessly too. Again, you need a license for the player software you use, but then you are ready for a fantastic music experience. And on that bombshell we come to the end of this video. A new video is coming soon, so don't forget to subscribe or follow me on Patreon, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram or TikTok. Patreon and YouTube Premium members get early access and no ads. A huge thank you to everyone who supports the channel financially. It's great to see the increasing number of small donations. Please don't be shy. I appreciate every single euro, pound, dollar or equivalent you donate. You keep me independent and motivated. It's easy to contribute using the QR code on the screen or the links in the description. I'm Hans Beekhuizen. Thank you for watching, and whatever you do, enjoy the music.